back with the next episode of Marktalks, an initiative started by the Marketing Society of Shahid Bhagat Singh College, Delhi University. I am Pulkit Tayan, a member of Marketing Society. Along with me, I have Girish. We will be hosting this today's session. For this episode, we have Mr. Ayush Kumar, who is currently serving as the management consultant at KPMG India. His interests include case competitions, public speaking, and he has also been a part of many interviews, podcasts, talk sessions, seminars, and he gives his valuable insights on various topics such as marketing, corporate outreach, strategy making, etc.
Greetings, sir. We are thrilled to have you with us today. We are both really eager to engage in a stimulating conversation with you. But before right now, starting with the important questions, we would really appreciate if you could introduce yourself briefly.
Okay, sure. First of all, thank you for that introduction. And so I grew up in Delhi. And after my undergrad, I did my undergraduate, I was an engineer. And some time along the way, I realized that maybe I could make a good engineer, but I wouldn't make a great engineer. I realized that at some point. And I was like, I needed to find the thing that I could be really good at. So I was in the education sector. Then I was with a health tech startup. I was part of that startup team from the first day. So I like to tell people that the day they set up the day they put the sticker on the door, I was there. Then I did my MBA from XLR at Jamshedpur right in the middle of COVID. We finished right in the middle of COVID when the job market was essentially frozen. I was in the Schindler Elevators team in sales, and then I switched to KPMG in management consulting. So I've had a little bit of an eclectic journey, but this is where we are now.
Okay. That's really great, sir. It seems like you had a really long journey. So without further ado, we will like to begin the interview. So over to you, Mr. Pulkit.
Thank you, Girish. Sir, you have been in the corporate world for more than 7 years, I guess. So, how would you like to describe your whole journey? Like you switching companies or facing challenges?
So yeah, you're right. It's been about 7 years, and I've been very fortunate that I have seen a variety of sectors and I've seen companies at various points in their life cycle. So I've been in the education sector, which has been very entrenched.
Yes,
So
sir.
innovating on that takes bandwidth, takes effort. I've
True.
been part of a day one where everything that you're doing is innovative because you're setting all processes for the first time and roles are fluid. So
Yes, sir.
I joined in a marketing role, but I was looking at the legal documents. I was helping draft the HR policy. I was essentially product managing the tech ecosystem. Then when I was in Schindler, that was a very, very client-facing role. When you're managing sales, then obviously you are the first point of contact for a customer. And I think of myself as an introvert. That is always a hard thing to do. So every time I would go and try to meet a client, I needed to prepare myself. But what that taught me is, and this is what I say to everybody, learn how to sell. If you know how to sell, you will always be in charge of your own life. So I did that. Then when I came to management consulting, that was also a whole new challenge because, for example, I thought I was very good at making presentations. Then I came into consulting and I had to unlearn everything I knew and start afresh. Every new project that you go to is a new industry, is a new client, is a new stage in the life cycle. So you're learning every day. So I think if I were to sum up my journey, I would just say that I've just been very fortunate to be able to learn every day in whatever I'm doing. So that is how I would describe my 7 years of corporate experience.
Sir. Okay. So that seems really long journey. And I hope you are happy with your entire journey and you have no regrets regarding it. So, sir, while we were analyzing your LinkedIn profile, we also saw that you had made many switches in your domains. So, can you enlighten us that how did you manage to take all these switches in your entire corporate life?
So the thing with switches is there are two types of expertise that anybody can get. One is you become an expert in an industry. The other is you gain experience in a process. For example, suppose I go in, what do you want to do? Suppose, Pulkit, what do you want to do?
Sir, I'm a CA aspirant and doing CA.
After CA, matlab, where do you want to, like, what kind of work do you want to do?
Sir, tax consultant.
You want to go into consulting, into
Yes, sir.
tax consulting. Okay?
Yes, sir.
Now, one thing is that you become an expert in the one industry. Okay, you become the go-to tax consultant for pharmaceuticals.
Okay.
That is the other option is you become the go-to tax consultant for one particular part in the process. Right? Any
Yes,
company
sir.
that wants to defer taxes will come to Pulkit. Versus any pharma company at whatever stage will come to Pulkit. So I have been, throughout my journey, I have been good in the sales cycle part of it, in the revenue generation part, be it marketing, be it sales, be it revenue generation for any company. So now the kinds of projects that I do would be market entry, a company that wants to enter a new market, a company that wants to ramp up its revenues. So that part of the process, I would say I'm relatively okay at, that I have more experience in. So the industry switch matters less because the process has been similar. So every project that I go into, I can use previous learnings.
This is true, sir. Learning never get waste, sir.
Right.
This is really inspiring, sir. Thank you. Sir, there is an old saying that either you do what you love or you love what you do. So what's your take on this? Matlab, what would you personally recommend or would choose?
See, you should do what you love. So there are some people that absolutely love investment banking, and that's awesome. The thing is that most of the things that we love to do won't really make us money. So if you ask me what do I love to do, I would say I love to sit at home and watch cricket every day. Now, unless I become Harsha Bhogle, I'm not going to make money doing it. So, but beyond that, it's great to, and in order to do what you love, what you're doing also has to be lovable, right?
Yes, sir.
If So, like, if I were to say that I will give you 10 lakh rupees a year, you have to be a toll booth attendant. Now, at an initial stage, you might say, okay, yeah, 10 lakh a year is not bad. And
Yes,
then
sir.
3, 4, 5 years, you start getting bored because you're
Of
doing the
course.
same thing 100 times a day, every day. So, some things are also hard to love. Now, the key thing to do is you look at the 10 options that you have, the things that you're good at, and of those, you pick the one that you love the most. Now, my number one option will always be to sit at home and watch cricket all day. But I enjoy what I do in consulting. I love the fact that every day I learn something. I love the fact that the case studies that I used to look at in textbooks, now a lot of them are actual business problems that we're looking at. So there is a balance between the two things. But in order for your work to be lovable, find something where you can grow.
Okay, sir.
Eventually, no matter what, it's going to become annoying. It's going to become dull. Nobody loves their job every day of the year. Nobody loves a career line every day. But at least find something where you can be like, okay, even if I hate the next 6 months, after that, I'm going to start enjoying it because this is the growth path.
Getting sir.
It was
Okay.
really inspiring what you said. Even I want to be an investment banker, and I think you're right that we should do what we love, because at the end of the day, we that only helps us to stay happy. So I agree with you, sir. Sir, I even want to know that what really inspired you to enter into the consulting field now.
So, in terms of consulting, what I loved about the field before I got into it, and I have been able to explore more, is the fact that you are solving real business problems on a day-to-day basis. So, for example, any business, like when you look at a case, so I could ask you a case ki Starbucks ka revenue gir raha hai. How should Starbucks increase their revenue? Now, that is the kind of problem that a consultant can actually be in the position to be able to help the company solve. So you are making impact at the level where it really, really matters. You are able to, obviously, you are able to grow because every day you are learning something new, and you are able to help the company grow in the direction that they want to grow in. So that is the part of consulting that I've really enjoyed, that you are solving real business problems.
Acting like a backbone of the company, I guess. Really inspiring, sir. Sir, one thing is hitting me, and I'm curious to know that you started your MBA after 5 years of graduation. You had an experience around 5 to 6 years in this field, and then you started you pursuing MBA from Accelerate Jamshedpur. So, what made you feel that you need to pursue an MBA, and what new challenges did you face while pursuing, sir?
So the thing is that overall, the thing that all of us chase, whether we think about it or not, the thing that we chase is growth.
True, sir.
Like I said, if I told you that you become a toll booth attendant, after 2 years, you'll start going crazy because you'll be like, this is what I'm doing every day, I'm not growing. Till I was able to track the growth in my life, I did the things that interested me. I did the things till I reached the point where I thought, now in order to grow, I need to learn more. When I hit that point, I did my MBA because I felt I was ready to take the next step in my own growth journey. In terms of the biggest challenge I faced was COVID. I did my MBA during the peak COVID months,
Yes, sir.
during the first wave, during the second wave. So, I mean, we all talk about how we had to get used to work from home. The faculty also had to get used to teaching online, right? I mean, me sitting across from you and us discussing this and us talking virtually, now we've become comfortable virtually. But if you were to talk about doing this 2 years ago, we would both have been uncomfortable.
Yes, of course.
So we had professors who were teaching us for the first time online. They also didn't know. They were like, what do I do without a blackboard? So the challenge was that. The challenge was there was anxiety about jobs, obviously, because the market was constricted. There were challenges about offline learning versus online learning. I mean, all of you know those challenges. You are students, you've seen COVID.
Yes, sir.
Yes,
So
sir.
my challenge was not very different from your challenge or from any student's challenge. We were all facing COVID. I just happened to do my MBA during it.
Sir, would you say that you were blessed that your MBA was in COVID phase or something like that?
So that's interesting because the like an MBA during COVID taught us a lot of things that. So I always like to say that the people who did their MBA in that phase, we were a once in a generation thing. In terms of good luck and bad luck, like since World War II, this hadn't happened. We were the
Yeah.
first batch to do something online. So see, the part that I still missed was now when I see batches that are on campus all the time, I'm like, oh, I didn't get that. Right. We came home from campus during the Delta wave. All of us had COVID. But the thing that we learned was that life is difficult. You have to adapt. All of us adapted.
Yeah.
I see everybody attached, and everybody had to adapt to something or the other. I mean, I would say I've been very fortunate personally, but I have so many batchmates who lost people in their family during their MBA and still had to continue, right? They still had to go through the placement process and everything. So I think that made us a lot more resilient. Anybody who had an important phase of their lives during COVID just became a lot more resilient. I mean, I don't know how old you guys are, but every phase that you go through is important right now. You did that through COVID. You can deal with anything now.
Yes, we can flex
Then
over it now, sir.
Yeah, sir.
We survived the COVID phase.
10 years later,
Yeah.
you will be who did their 12th will be able to say, I did my 12th during COVID. तुम्हें पता ही नहीं है कुछ मैं this is what I did. That is what you'll
Yes,
be able to.
yes, sir. सर वो 12th बैच वाले ही है सर वो.
हाँ, so that's what I'm saying, यार.
उससे सर हमसे ज्यादा रिलेट कर नहीं सकते आपके साथ. हम आपके
That
बिल्कुल रिलेट कर पा रहे हैं सर.
kind of uncertainty you guys went through. Boards होंगे नहीं होंगे. How are they going to happen?
Yeah.
When are they going to happen? Sitting in an exam hall with a mask on is a difficult thing to do. You guys have done all of that. What's
Yeah.
going to stop you? You're already more resilient than anybody who might be 30 who hasn't faced all of these things.
True, sir. True. New challenges, new environment, everything was new.
Correct.
And I don't think, sir, many more generations are going to get to experience that. And I hope they do not get to experience that. I really hope that.
Crossed.
So, sir, like you did go through the COVID journey, and the impact of a pandemic can still be seen around. So, the functioning of many businesses have been has left an impact on the consulting field. So, what were the pros and cons getting work done virtually, sir?
See, one big pro that a lot of companies in the world have seen is that all of us have gotten comfortable communicating virtually. Not even in terms of getting work done, just in terms of communicating. Skype was a thing in 2005 also. But we never really used Skype that much, right? Now it's a very regular thing where you be like, let's connect virtually, and I'll be like, sure. And you know the virtual background you want, you know how to communicate. I know the virtual background I want. We've all gotten used to that, right? So now the thing that consulting does is it tracks how businesses move in general. So all of us have gotten very comfortable communicating virtually. So if I have a client and they have a sales team all over India, it's very easy to be like, okay, let's all get on a Zoom call and talk. Which also means that any company is now no longer restricted to hiring only within their area. Which means if you are somebody who's living in a tier 3 city, you can still work for a company in a tier 1 city.
Yeah.
You don't need to pack your bags and move to Bangalore to work in tech. A lot of companies have now said we're moving completely to a hybrid model, you decide. When Twitter said, let's get everybody back in office, a lot of people resigned because now we're not used to that anymore. So that I think is a big change that has come about because of COVID. People still prefer work, like an employer would still prefer to have you in office, but now they can't mandate it because now we've all got used to the fact that some work can also get done virtually. People did your during COVID fail to nahi hue na. You still managed to learn something, you still managed to do well. So you did manage to learn. The virtual model did succeed. We
Yes,
prefer
sir.
doing things, but we can manage virtually.
Even our Marktalks is an initiative taken under during the global pandemic.
And what that does is that it allows you to interact with people from, like, nothing is stopping you from getting in touch with anybody anywhere. People in Delhi, you can reach out to. People across India, you can reach out to. You can reach out to people globally. Nothing is stopping you. During my time in XLRI, what we discovered is we could reach out to big international names, and worst case scenario, we'd send an email and they wouldn't respond. Best case scenario, we send 10 emails and even one person responds. That's great. For Marktalks also, like, your scope has widened, right?
Yeah, yes, sir, of course, sir. Now we can approach anyone from India, even global. We can contact people outside India. We just need a laptop and some internet connection, and we can talk.
And your advantage is that you know that the other person is also comfortable with it now, because all of us went through the pandemic together.
Yes, sir. Sir, next I would like to know, being a CA aspirant myself and looking my future in the consulting field itself. So what are certain tips or suggestions that you would like to give us before getting in this journey, sir?
One thing, so my first tip to anybody would be, think about why. What happens with some fields, consulting, investment banking, is that people want to get into them because everybody wants to get into them. But that is a very specific thing to you. Why do you want to do it, other than the fact that you'll get paid well? If you're good at your job, you will get paid well in anything. Right? People keep saying कि मेरे को sales में नहीं जाना. I know plenty of people in sales who make a lot more money than I do. So figure out कि why do you specifically want to go? For every 10 people who are in consulting who are very happy, there'll be 2 or 3 who are not, who move on from consulting, right? Job openings open when, right? अगर हर बंदा जो consulting में आता had a 40-year career, then there would never be any job openings. So my one thing would be, figure out why you want to get into it, other than the money and the perks and the glitter that you see. Do you enjoy the problem solving part? If I give you a data set of 1,000 numbers and say make a presentation on it, does that excite you? If I say to you, Pulkit, let's sit for 2 hours and analyze the Hero MotoCorp annual report and look at their profit and loss statement, would you be like, yes, let's do it? Or would you be like, okay, he's gone crazy?
So that's why I'm trying to I'm looking a future in this consulting field, because these things excite me. That rush, I can feel that rush.
Do them. See if they still interest you. So that is one. Figure out if the hard parts of your job still interest you. Everybody wants to go into sales when you're closing orders. Nobody wants to go when the customer is yelling at you. If the customer is yelling at you, it's still interesting to you, then you're a good fit. So that is step one. Figure out if that part of it really interests you. That is one. Second thing is, when you're applying for roles in consulting, see, nobody is going to expect you to be an expert on any subject at this point. What they will expect you to do is, have you been good at the things that you've done? Are you used to being excellent? Is there a level of perfection that you bring to the work that you do? So, for example, if suppose you're doing Marktalks, okay?
Okay, sir.
As a sample. Now, if you write on your resume that I was in charge of Marktalks, where we invited speakers, that doesn't mean anything. If you say that during my time at Marktalks, we were able to invite X number of speakers, which was 20% more than last time, and we had X numbers of viewers, which was 30% more than last time. What that tells me is that you bring perfection to what you want to be good at what you're doing. So when you're making your resume and when you're working towards it, try to bring excellence in what you do, because that will show up on your resume. If you say, I played football, okay. I played football for my state team and I was captain, as an example. That tells me that you can deal with pressure. That tells me you can work in a team. That tells me that you played football, but you were good at it. You are used to bringing excellence to what you do. I won't get into very specific points right now because you're still in the phase where you'll make your resume, you'll grow, right? First of all, you'll grow. So when you're growing, that is the thing that you should keep in mind. Am I bringing excellence in what I do in a way that will reflect on my resume also?
It was really insightful information you gave us about preparing our CV, and we are going to follow your words regarding this. Sir, I also have another question that most of our viewers are from the college, and soon we'll be facing interviews. So, are there any tips or that you would like to give us, or any mistakes that we should avoid while preparing our CV for the same?
Sure. One question that is asked in every single interview is, tell me about yourself. Unfortunately, this is the question that most people end up not preparing because we think we can talk about ourselves. Now, the thing is that the interviewer will have your resume in front of them. They want to know, how do you see yourself? What are the things that you think you've done that are important? What are important highlights in your journey so far that you think they should know? So that is your opportunity to personalize your journey. So it's important that you address those things. So for example, if you guys, again, I'll take your example, you want to talk about Marktalks. Now, you can say that I was in college, etc., and we did Marktalks, which was an initiative to interview people from the industry. What did you learn from it? Why did you do it? What was your learning from it? And why is it important? Why are you telling me this if it's not important? So it is your job to create context around what you are saying. If you say that I was part of Marktalks where we did this, versus if you say that I had a fear of public speaking, therefore I joined Marktalks, where I was able to interview these people, and not only was I able to learn about the industry firsthand, but I was also able to get comfortable with public speaking. That becomes a lot more powerful because that tells me something about you. So that is one thing in an interview that obviously everybody is going to tell you, be confident, communicate, smile, etc. Everybody's going to tell you that. But in terms of the preparation, you want the interview to go in the direction that you are most comfortable in. So I'll give you an example. During my journey, I also prepared for the UPSC exam. I didn't mention that in my MBA interview because what I didn't want them to do was say, okay, you prepared for UPSC, let me ask you about current affairs. That takes the conversation away from my control. Right? If I've done a certification that I'm not super confident in, I will not mention it in a job interview because I don't want them to ask me questions on it. I want them to ask me questions on the 6-7 things that I'm comfortable with. So I will keep the conversation around that. So as you step out into the world of interviews and you'll give 1, 2, 5, 10, you start learning these tricks. I'll just tell you now that what you learn at the end of 10 interviews is that you want to be able to control the conversation. So when I had my KPMG interview, we did the tell me about yourself, we did the why do you want to shift, etc. And then my interview was like, from your resume, I gather that you like case solving. Let me ask you a case. And in my head, I was like, awesome, this is what I'm good at. The thing that I wanted them to look at on my resume has worked. I want them to ask me a case because I know that is something I can do better than anybody.
Yes. The things you
So
own.
exactly. So that is how you want to manage your interview preparation, that is how you want to manage your CV making, because they're going to ask you questions from your CV. So step one is make sure your CV aligns with the job. Don't lie on your CV, obviously, but if it is if as an example, if it is an HR interview, then emphasize on your people skills. If it is sales, emphasize on where you were good in a sales angle. And that can be anything that where you convince somebody is sales. Then you focus on that. So align your CV to what the job description is, what the role is, and prepare your CV and your interview accordingly that you can control the conversation. Okay, so I was saying that at your age, if you can do that, you are already better than 90% of the people around you. Basically.
Sir, exactly, we have to do it. Let them think we are driving, but we are navigating.
It's not even that you're trying to trick the other person, but you've mutually decided that, okay, these are the things we're going to talk about. An interviewer doesn't want to make you uncomfortable. If I'm interviewing you and I ask you, what is the capital of Ghana? And you say, I don't know, that doesn't help me, that doesn't help you.
Getting things. Seems like my CV is now outdated and it needs some major improvements. So before I go to update my CV, so coming to the last question, but not the least, sir, you have mentioned in your various interviews that students interested in consulting field should enroll in n number of case study competitions. Sir, any tricks that you would like to share for the competitors, for students preparing in this field?
So I'll give you advice that I give to a lot of people, and people generally don't take. And I'll tell you what worked for me, okay? There is no framework, there is no shortcut. What worked for me, and the reason I was able to do better than some of my peers, was because I just failed more often. So by the time they were on their third competition, I had already failed in 10. But I had learned in those 10. So by the time the 11th came around, I already had experience of failing in 10. So my advice to you is you participate in 10, submit your entries for 10. It doesn't matter even if you don't make it, because by the 11th one, you're better. Right? It's the same logic as learning to drive. The more you practice, the better you get. So, I mean, when you see on my CV and you see a few case competitions, right? Bangalore, etc., you will see those, but there's 30 behind that I didn't even qualify in. That is how I learned, and that it's not fun advice to give, because it's a hard journey for everything. But honestly speaking, my advice is that just fail faster than everybody else. Be in a hurry to fail. That is the only way.
So failure is the key to success. That's what we understand from that. Okay. Well, thank you so much, sir, for taking out some time from your hectic schedule. We are indeed really grateful for you to be our guest today. And we do hope that our interviews, as much as we have enjoyed this, and we have served the very purpose of the Mark Talks, and we got the insight from the man himself. So thank you so much, sir, for that, and hope you had a great time with us. We had a great time with you, and I hope you also had a great time with us. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you so much, sir.